Hey guys, so I have a very special guest to bring on for you all tonight. My friend Jason, he is a tarot wizard, like literally he's a real wizard. So I'm excited to bring him on here. This is my first time doing a live show with another person, my own live interview on this show. So let's get him on here. Jason!
I am here. I am a live person, and you're going to be talking with a live person. Congratulations on your first interview, and thank you for having me on to Apolla's Odyssey. Yes,
Apollo's Odyssey. And thank you for being my first person on here. It's good to have you on here. You know, actually, so just so everyone knows, right before the pandemic hit, basically I had this group shoot, a group shoot for my shaman spears, which are my energy channeling devices, and I had Jason here model for it, and it was really amazing. He actually wore one of the dragon skulls and used some of the taller spears, and we got some really good shots with him. It was really fun. Oh, let me get this on a different mode. Okay, there we go. That looks better.
You know, what's fun about that was there was one dragon skull that attracted me the most, and it is the only one that actually fit my head. So it was like the silvery one with a little bit of teal highlights on it. And
I still have that one. I still have it.
It was a wonderful shoot. That was the only time I could put in my bio like model, because that's usually not my gig, is being a model.
You made a great model. I mean, I that's what I love about you. It's like you like brand yourself as a wizard. I mean, you do all these sort of metaphysical sort of you know, you have all these different abilities that you use and you do it for your work. So I mean, you look like a wizard. It's so cool. I love how you brand yourself as that, and it was really cool to have you a part of that group. And honestly, like, so many people came up to me and they're like, wow, that's so cool. You had that wizard guy in all your photos on your site. It's really cool.
When you brand yourself as a wizard, then anything, you know, under that, as far as you know, you can tackle. You can, you know, like I've been an art director in my life. I've been a filmmaker, you know, and you can apply all of those skills of wizardry to everything. So it's a good label to have.
It's really incredible. So can you tell everyone a little bit about what all you do? You know, like I know you do past life regressions and you do readings at all these different events, but just give everyone like a broad spectrum of everything you do, just a little bio for us all.
So at this time in my life, I am a tarot wizard, and that does, you know, mean that I dabble in the meditational arts too, where there's I have a line of meditations that are there to help people find themselves and to move through any kind of obstacles that are within their being at that time. And then I read for you know, the English speaking world. I'm available, you know, through Zoom, through you know, the phone, and I also read for the Japanese community through an interpreter, and we've been doing these soul path navigations, and they've been these powerful sessions that I'm sitting there electronically anyway with an interpreter, and we're speaking to querents, you know, who are in Japan, and it's just been a fantastic combination of, you know, just being able to reach out to another culture, but to also, you know, just help you know, someone like just see like their own spiritual connection and all their own path just unfold before them, and it's with the tarot. You know, the tarot is this amazing language. It's a symbol system. It allows you to see patterns, and when you can recognize patterns within yourself, then you can either you know, learn to accept those patterns or change them up. So that's you know, mostly the tarot wizard is who I am these days, Apolla. And, I love it because I do a lot of deep work with individuals, so a lot of transformational work.
That's amazing. And what exactly brought you into this? And first I wanted to say I actually I went to the Coba pyramids in Mexico recently, and divination. I always like to mess around with different practices of divination because there's just so many different kinds. Yeah. And in Mexico recently at the Coba pyramids, they were showing us there was like a game. I forget what it's called, but you probably know what I'm talking about. It's this ancient Aztec
is it like
game.
Soccer, but kicking a head around that game?
Well, so there's like this arena. It goes like this, and like a lot of documentaries, they were saying that the people that played the game, it actually had to do with like human sacrifice or something, and like everyone would watch. It was back in like the Aztecs did it. But my tour guides, so they ended up finding out recently as they researched it more that actually, so there's these little, there's these different symbols that are put throughout the arena, and actually it was something that was just for the priesthood at the time. It would be the priest would stand on the different sides of the arena, and when they kicked the I don't know if they kicked it or they threw it. I can't remember what it was, but it would be like one person and they would have to move the ball around the court. And whenever the ball hit these certain symbols, the priest would sit there and read it, and they would and it was like a way of divination. So I just thought that was really interesting. There's just so many different forms of it, and all over the world, like you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, that one seems a little bit more active than I want to get, as far as like a means of divination. Was like, I was watching the intro to your show. Is that you in front of one of the pyramids there? What pyramid was that?
Oh, it was the pyramids in Coba. I forget what that specific one. I think it was called Coba. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've been to the pyramids at Chichen Itza. There, more on the eastern part of the peninsula, and Tulum. I've been inside the pyramid at Chichen Itza. At one point, I don't know if they still do it. Maybe if someone has like, enough, they open the door, the side door to the pyramid, and you walk up the stairs, which are actually they were saying that it was at one time the actual surface of the pyramid that was underneath, what they then put another layer of the pyramid on it, and you walk up and you can just sense the vibes inside this little corridor that's walking up the pyramid in Chichen Itza, and that was really quite spooky. I won't lie about that, but I'm kind of a little bit claustrophobic anyway. I'm not like really great with like those enclosed dark spaces, but that was like I felt like the energy of it, and it's something that you don't necessarily get from the outside of it. You could have like a different experience on the outside and the inside. You get like a different feel for it, and with divination, right? It's like it's whatever medium or modality you're aligned with. I know a lot of practitioners, and some they are mediums. They can just have a talk with the spirits around them. Others are scryers. They can look into a crystal ball. They can look into a shiny black plate. They can look at anything really, and it's a way of just like having your eyes soft focus and you're connecting intuitively. I've done some coffee ground reading before, where I was
like Harry Potter.
Yeah, I was reading a woman in Istanbul. We were staying. Me and my wife were staying across from the Blue Mosque in old Istanbul, and the the staff of the hotel, they learned that I was a reader. And we came back from a whole day of sightseeing, and everyone was at one of the outside restaurant tables saying, "Can you read for us?" And it was like, oh my God, of course, and it's like, midnight, you're like kind of wiped out from the day, but you're like, this is, it's an honor, to read for, people from another country in such a powerful spot, the Hagia Sophia, the mosques there that are really powerful spiritual places. But reading the coffee grounds there, it's like I had like names appear in the coffee grounds of the people that I was reading, and it's like if that form of divination works for you, then by all means, it's like go for it, expand upon it. It's like for me, tarot was like the kind of a natural. But I'll tell you about like how I got into it, and it's like it's a kind of superficial reason. It's like a very Los Angeles reason.
I mean, first, before you get into that, what exactly in your life led you? Were you intuitive in your life growing up? Did you have these abilities before you decided to get into this, maybe as a kid growing up?
No. But what I was a wizard, but just like early on. And that was with music, with film, with photography. And when I say a wizard, it's like, it's like when one dives into the process and they study it, and you find your part to play in it, right? It's like you don't have to be, just a complete know-it-all about something, but you find your place in something. You see where you can best express yourself in it. And with music, it's like I started writing songs pretty early on, and then recording songs. And I probably have about 30 musical albums of all different styles, from classical to soundtrack to rock. And it's like my formal musical education is very minimal. I had piano lessons when I was like a small kid, and I was good, but I totally dropped out, and then came back into it, when I was 16, and then just dove into it. And I was like really adept at seeing, okay, this is an expensive hobby, right? It's like if you go to record and all, it can become very expensive to rent studios and all that. But as we moved closer and closer into the digital revolution and all, it was like, oh, okay, we can like do this at home, and I can do this at home, and you just like build your own studio, and all of a sudden it's like you don't have to spend like tens of thousands of dollars to create music. You can just do it right there. And along the way with music, it's like I was working for a company. They needed a voice to intone the Om sound, and Om is Sanskrit. It's like one of the highest universal tones, and I was chosen to record that, and that
Wow.
recording, it became a staple used in yoga studios throughout the world. And
That's incredible.
and it wasn't something that I was preparing for, but when it happened, it opened me up to just another like spiritual realm. As far as I could see where my voice had a certain quality to it that could be of service to others, to help others. And it wasn't about me. It wasn't about like, people weren't thinking of me when they heard it. They were thinking of monks or, someone just in their spiritual space doing that. So that kind of opened me up to the spiritual aspects of things. And then I had an opportunity for doing a pilot for a network, one of the cable networks, and where I was going to be cast as a wizard because I had a long beard. But that was the only reason.
How long ago was this?
It was about 10 years ago.
Wow.
And it was something that was I had to learn tarot, to kind of be in that psychic place. And I'd had a tarot deck when I was in my early 20s, but because the nature of it was just a lot of study, and it wasn't where I wanted to apply my focus. It was definitely not of interest to me at that time. But when I got back into it later in life for this pilot, it was something that I just learned the basics of it, and then it kind of expanded, and I found that because of my life experience and my ability to talk with people, to hold space with people, that I was ready for it. And in the pilot, it didn't fly, but I flew as far as my tarot wizardry. It just started going on the up and up, and I would read everywhere, anywhere, all places, and all levels of where people's where their questions were coming from.
That's the interesting thing with acting, is that they always seem to like cast you for the roles that it's almost like these people in the casting rooms, they can see an archetype in you and they'll cast you for that. I've noticed that with myself with acting and looking at the other people I know that have been casted for certain roles. It's like, it's really strange. It's like they see different things in you. It's like they really see these things that are within you. And I'm sure they saw that in you. It's like, even though maybe, you didn't realize it about yourself, once you were able to tap into that, who is it? The astrologer, the Spanish astrologer that a documentary just came out about him on Netflix recently. I forget what his name is. His expression is like something more.
Is he the one who's pretty flamboyant?
Oh, is it Mercado, I think, or something?
In his appearance, is he like real, boisterous and all?
Right.
I've seen him. I haven't listened to him yet.
So he was it was the same way for him. He was casted into this role to be like an astrologer on TV, and he didn't really have any work with it. And then he started doing it, and it just all started coming out, and he ended up becoming way more popular than the show even was. And I don't even know if that show officially took off. He went into another one, and they just started a whole program just on him, just because he was doing so well with it, and so much was like coming out of him when he fell into that role.
Yeah It's what you're talking about, from someone else sometimes seeing you, and sometimes we don't believe things that people will say about us if we hear it, and I was like, for a very long time, just very much in a creative space where I just wanted to create music. I wanted to create art, and not have to be in that realm of because when you're a reader, when you become a counselor, and sometimes you're not just wired to be in people's problems, basically, and I found that later in life I totally was that person. So I just opened up to it, and in the transformative aspects of it, it was like organic change, within me. It's like my wife is the one who cultivates butterflies. She just started. I think she went up north there to Pismo, around Pismo, and was taken by the monarch sanctuary that's up there, and so she just got some like milkweed, and because they only eat milkweed. The monarchs, they only eat milkweed naturally.
I have a personal story with this and monarchs and milkweed. So growing up, before we get into your story of how because I want to know everything about this whole I always see, so by the way, everyone, he's always showing all these incredible pictures on Facebook of releasing these butterflies into the wild every year, and it's so amazing. So I just wanted to know more about that. I don't really know his backstory yet, so I told him before I brought him on that I wanted to hear that. But before we get into that, actually as a kid growing up, my ditch and my yard in Illinois was filled with milkweed, and every year just like flocks of monarch butterflies would come in. And one year when I was a kid, I went down in the ditch and I started kind of putting my finger in front of them, trying to catch them, and or not trying to catch them, but just trying to get them to crawl on my finger.
Yeah.
And like after a while, they started getting used to me, and it got to the point where I got so familiar with them that I could just walk down and come near them, and they would all just like fly over and like land around me, like land on me. It was so crazy, and I would even bring friends and family and bring them down and show them, and they're like, how are you doing this? I don't know. I feel like I have like a thing with butterflies. It's really strange. Like even I went to Peru a while back, and I would these like big butterflies are the size of like dinner plates. I could like get them to do it too, and it's just really interesting. I don't know. I just always felt like I actually heard one time that butterflies, their aura actually comes out way further than a lot of, other living things on Earth. Apparently, and I can feel it. Like when they come near me, it's like, whoa. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's like you can feel them. The monarchs, I feel them. Like when we have a bunch of them and all. But even if there's just one and it's I'm holding it, some beings, it's like they don't project their life force like too far, but the monarchs, they're very much like project a force there that's just like whoa, and so there's a lot of respect with that. So you have like something within you, and it's probably like a natural ability, or and it's probably that same part of you that kind of takes you out into living just a different life than most others. That's anyone who knows you, who sees like your posts and all that. It's like you don't live like a normal life, or something that most everyone leads. Because you were like living in a castle, weren't you? Like not too long ago.
For a while. It got a bit much for me, just everyone there. It was kind of overwhelming. So I'm actually on my own little place in the hills now. Had a lot of different experiences in the past year, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
oh, sorry.
With the butterflies, right? It's like there is like a little bit of a protocol to be able to house them, basically, to let them do their thing and keep them safe, right? It's like there's some protective netting and some of these kind of pop out like tent types of screens and all that. You can place the food and the milkweed and they can like crawl around and do their chrysalis state when they need to, but they eat a lot as caterpillars. It's like they're ravenous. They're just meant to eat, and it's really funny because you see the basically the three stages of transformation. You see the caterpillar, and I know this because my wife, she teaches it also online. She'll do these sessions with school age kids and all that, where they're doing origami butterflies. But she'll educate them, and they start off like the size of them. They start off like they'll grow about 700 times their original size. So that's if like a person like me was born and then became the size of a whale, like a blue whale, so it's like huge. It's huge. And they eat and they eat and they eat, and they're just like, they go around the milkweed and they just like eat as much as they can, and then they know that it's time to something's up, something's changing. And so they go up the screen. If they're out in the wild, they'll just go up a tree limb or something, and they will use the silk to suspend themselves by the tail end, and then they'll like hang there and then kind of curl into this J, and they'll just like rest there for about a day or so, and then you'll see their outside body. They'll start to like do this weird thing kind of with their they've got a row of like legs there, and then they looks like they're doing stomach crunches, and then the back of their head will just split open. The skin will just split open, and this green like slimy being inside is wriggling out. And so their whole like,
that's gnarly.
It's very like out of an alien science fiction movie. It's like, whoa, this is trippy. And I've seen it like a bunch of times. And it's always like, because it's just kind of like squirming out, and it's just like it's very, invasion of the body snatchers, and then it'll just drop this outer casing, this shell that's on the outside, and that in itself is like, it puts you into a philosophical mood, right? Because you're just observing it, you're watching it, and it's like, we look at ourselves, right? We look at ourselves in the mirror. Can you imagine, if one day we just like kind of squirmed out of our bodysuit there, and we just, there was like an inner just kind of gooey self that then hardens into this kind of beautiful shell, and it even has like little gold spots on it. And what happens is, that just sits for like a couple weeks, and all of a sudden you start to see the details. It starts to become a little bit more transparent inside. It starts to darken, and it's like you can start to see these orange wings inside. And after a while, it pops open, and you find that it's a casing, and there's this wet butterfly that will squirm out, and its wings are all folded up, and as it like comes out, slides out, it like has a handhold, and then it dries off. It has to dry off, and as it dries, it's like it's starting to recognize that something is different, something has changed, and they will start to exercise their wings there, and they're not ready to fly quite then. They don't know exactly what that process is, but that's usually a good time of when they're dry and all of like holding them. That's some of those pictures that you've seen of me with the butterflies, is when they're dry, but they haven't taken flight yet. They're in between that stage, and you can again really feel their presence. You can really feel when they are they're kind of getting excited about, oh my God, this is the next stage of the journey. And then we will take them in their little butterfly screened cage there. We'll take them to a park, or Sue will take them to her garden where there's a lot of flowers, because they're pollinators. They go from flower to flower, and they'll pollinate just like the bees do. And they're ready. They're ready to fly. And it's such an effortless transition, because it can happen like that, where they slide out of the chrysalis. It's a couple hours to dry, and then they're ready to fly. And I see that as organic change, where like we're meant to not just be the same person in our own lives, just over and over doing the same things, and not growing, not evolving, not changing. And we can resist that in our own life. We can resist the change, But at some point, it's like there's going to be circumstances or so where that, it's going to be too much to resist it. We go for it, and we move to the next stage of our life. For me, becoming a tarot reader, that was like getting wings, because that just opened up a whole new world of communication, of being able to talk with anyone across the world in very meaningful ways, not just superficial, hey, how are you, but talking about that process of opening up to what the next stage is for you.
Wow, so there's a connection with what you do with the tarot and the butterflies. It's both about, like you're helping these butterflies to open up and transform, but you also do that with the people that you work with in this with tarot. So and also what I think is really interesting about that is it's almost like we go through these transformations throughout our lives, as you were saying, and it's like we have these different periods that are very similar to like the transformation of the butterfly. Like, I notice in my own life, a lot of times I'll go through like a kind of period where I'm like kind of in a solitude, like in my chrysalis, I guess, like a solitude kind of period, and just kind of, like working on art or reading and researching. And then, I want to come out and, so I definitely, I feel that those kind of transformations in my own life as well.
Yeah, and we're not relegated just to one. Like the butterfly will go through one transformation in their life, and most of the generations there, they will only be alive for at most like 6 weeks. At most, it's the ones that are born towards the end of the season. Those are the ones that will live for months and travel down to Mexico, and regroup and.
They always go to Mexico. That's the their final meeting place.
Well, that is where not all of them.
They're like, let's go to Mexico.
They're going awesome. to Senior Frogs down there. They're going to party.
Hey, I can see why. I just went to Tulum and I loved it. I can see why they want to meet down there. Yeah. That's hilarious. Is that where they eventually pass away, or do they fly back up north? I never thought about that before.
They'll fly. They'll start the journey back anyway, of migration. That's kind of like the as far south as like the monarchs go, is Mexico. But they'll branch off. They'll head up. In the middle of the U.S. there, and then also along the coast of California. And I've been privy to like probably at this point, like certainly over 1,000, maybe around 1,500 that my wife has released and
wow.
cultivated. It's crazy. Like there was one time that we just got through with a batch of maybe about 50, and then one female, she came back and she laid eggs. And she laid about 200 eggs on the milkweed. It's like we were keeping the Armstrong Garden Center like fully just stocked, with money, because we were having to buy milkweed and just because they're ravenous. They're like locusts, those caterpillars. They're hungry, and that their job is to eat and to store up that whatever's in the milkweed there. And it's also a protector too, because the birds won't eat them because they don't like milkweed. They don't like the taste of it. And also, if they're eating caterpillars, they're not going to enjoy it. So that's nature just having its smarts there.
Wow. And wow, this is just all so interesting. Another interesting relation to this, I guess, is like, I was wondering, how does this relate to the transformation that humanity is going through right now? Like, obviously, it really seems like we're having this sort of phase of solitude right now. This seems to me very similar to the chrysalis phase with the butterfly transformation. So do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think this is sort of it's almost like we're meant to be in this phase, even though, you know, the circumstances might not be the best? Like maybe, you know, we're meant to be in this phase for a reason. As a collective, it's like we're being put in this sort of time together.
Yeah, I mean, as humans, I don't think any of us would have said, "Oh yeah, this sounds like a really great idea. Let's do this." You know, I think you know, there's a at first anyway, there's like a lot of just like, oh, geez, this will probably just be like a month or so, and then, you know, we'll be back to business as usual. But here we are, like, you know, months and months later, and you know, I think that we've seen like a resilience kind of in ourselves too. You know, as far as like, it's like, oh my God, how am I going to, you know, do this for a month? This will be crazy. I can't do this for a month. And then, you know, 8 months later, it's like, oh, okay, you know. But I feel that, you know, that there are external, like, you know, forces that have their say, you know, and for an individual, it is a time that one can go into that chrysalis state and reflect, and you know, humans have the ability to you know, meditate and be able to, you know, ask that question, you know, can I change something up? Is this a time where I'm being called to something else? You know, is it just business as usual? Do I just wait for things to go back to quote unquote normal and then resume my life as if nothing happened? Or is this something that, you know, is going to be informative to me to change things up and not just keep doing the things that I've been doing over and over? But you know, am I being called to something? You know, have you felt yourself like being called to, you know, activating your creativity in another way? You know, because it's like you're a musician. It's like you know, and who's able to play for people right now? It's like,
yeah, I mean, definitely in my own experience throughout all of this, actually the first 3 months of it, you know, back in whenever it started in March, I believe, I put all my time into my art for literally 3 months straight. It was just like I was at home just working on my art, and I started working on a memoir and getting ideas for a book together, which I'm going to really get into soon. And I had a regression from you, by the way, during that time. Which
oh yeah, that's right.
Interesting. But yeah.
Are you going to add that in your book?
I definitely. If we want to get into that later, we should definitely get into that a little later. But yeah, so basically, you know, throughout that time, I just kind of started having some realizations, and I think that's what's important about this, is it's like giving you time to really look into yourself. And that definitely happened with me. And I actually started working for an artist in downtown LA, building temples for a while, which was, you know, not something I expected to be doing, but it like really brought out some new skills and made me look at things in a different way. And you know, and then I guess I just kind of, you know, I started reporting for these different UFO news network, Third Face and Moon, and I really started doing a lot with that. And I'm like, you know, I miss going to conferences. And then they came to me and they're like, hey, we want you to start doing reports for us. And then it was like I was kind of virtually, you know, with all the people that I'm normally with in the UFO scene. And so then I went from that to basically like I started interviewing on other people's shows, and then I'm like, you know what, I just need to have my own show. And so I've been putting that together, and honestly, like as soon as I started, you know, putting more time and energy into getting this project together, like a lot of synchronicities have been happening and things have really been falling together. And it's interesting to just learn things in new ways and figure out how to do things in different ways. And I definitely always wanted to have my own show, but I don't think it really would have happened necessarily like it did if everything hadn't happened in the world the way it has in the past month. Because normally I'm just out, you know, performing all the time, and it's kind of, you know, a little distracted from, I guess, what I can be doing. myself. So yeah, it's definitely been an activation period. You mentioned being active. It's definitely been an activation period for me, and I've actually really enjoyed it. And so I think that's important. It's like everyone that's going through this period. It's like you can either let it bring you down, or you can make the best of it. Like, what can I work on within myself during this time? And really, we have so much time to be doing that right now, and it's really incredible. But as for music, I haven't honestly done much with music. We had a lot of shows lined up with the Siren, and we were supposed to actually, Mercury Records was planning on signing us, and they had several shows lined up for us, and then everything was canceled. So, but I just had a meeting the other night with this group called Hunger Aid, which I've been kind of working on and off with for a while, where it's like this it's like sort of this thing where artists will put on shows in different communities to feed the homeless in that area. Yeah. And they were having a meeting about doing something in the future, and we started talking, and I was like, you know what, why don't we do a virtual show, and every artist that comes on, they can, bring the proceeds to feeding the communities in their areas. So we're actually working on that right now. And so that's definitely a new outlet with music, which I'll be doing here in January coming up. So
that's cool.
Exciting. Yeah.
That's cool. So do you have like a full band, like from one on like one camera, or is everyone just kind of in their own space, playing? How does that logistically work?
Virtual like conference festival. So it's like, there'll be set times where everyone's performing. It's like a festival. And I mean, we haven't, we just kind of came up with the idea. We got to get into the logistics of it. Like, I don't know if there'll be different people playing at once in like certain time slots, like how they do at festivals. But it's like people actually pay to go on the site, and then, pay to go on the show, and then all the proceeds, like the artists will share, all the donations will go to the food banks in their areas where they're actually from. Right. So, yeah, it's interesting.
I was just reading one of the comments from really, and they were talking about driving carefully, because when the butterflies are coming back, around March or so, it's like there can be like a ton of them. And like a couple of years ago, the painted ladies, they're like, they look like they're little smaller like versions monarchs. Yeah. of monarchs, but they have some brown on them, but they're smaller. But my God, it's like they were everywhere, and you couldn't drive anywhere without like feeling like you were slaughtering like 1,000 of them, because they would just like come in and just like they'd be everywhere and just fly into your cars and stuff, and it's just like no, stop that. Yeah. So, what I was going to say too about the like the this change, this 2020 has been quite a year of either going into those places of self-evaluation, where you can look to see if you've been putting something off. All right, if you're saying, before, I just was too kind of locked into my routine, but now I have the time to study that particular subject, dive into it, go for it, and that is something that one can do, but it's also I've come across a lot who want to just stay distracted. They want to like consume like every series ever made on Netflix. They want to keep entertained and not having to do some of this hard work. And I'm reminded that through the butterflies and all that transformation is not to keep us in these areas that are always like comfortable for us. It's about growing. It's about our spirits evolving, changing, so that we're living purposeful lives, that we have meaning in our lives. And yes, it's like we can spend an evening watching a movie and, TV show, whatever, just to unwind, but to make our life's work, to make that that goal that we're here to fulfill, to stay on that, and not let outside influences just like have a crippling effect on us, but to give us a moment to collect ourselves and figure out what it is that we want to move towards, how we want to apply our talents, our gifts.
It's like what you were saying there really reminds me of the idea of the dark night of the soul sort of concept. Like, if no one out there or some of you out there aren't really familiar with that, usually like it's said that humans, like a lot of us, will go through this sort of dark night of the soul period, maybe one or two or a few times throughout our lives, where it's like basically for a period it's like everything kind of falls apart and it's hard to like really make things work out, and it's almost like and it's really what it is it's kind of bringing you out of your ego. It's like, if your ego is kind of taking over too much, a lot of times that's when it happens, is to kind of get you more rooted in yourself, I guess. And I was actually watching an interview where a spiritual teacher was talking about that recently, and he was saying that when that happens, like you were saying about the distractions, it's like when that happens, a lot of people, like, they just it just keeps going on for them, because really what it is it's trying to give you a period in your life where you're supposed to work through things within yourself and heal within yourself. But if you don't do that, and you just fall into that dark period, and addictions take over or whatever, and you don't start working on yourself, then it just keeps lasting, and it never, it just keeps going and going. But really the way to work through that period, he was saying, is to start, working on these things within yourself and working through them. So it's weird. It's almost like, to me, it seems like this chrysalis period, it's almost like a dark night of the soul for the collective. But, it makes me wonder, like, is there going to be this transformational period where we do come out of the cocoon, as you were talking about with the butterfly? Like, what could that look like in the future? Like, do you think that's possible? I mean, to me, it seems very likely, just because, like, there's the, what is it, like, out of all the universal laws, there's the I believe it's the law of balance, where, or the law of the pendulum, where it can't go too far this way without swinging back the other way. I noticed that a lot of times within my own life, if there's like a low, it usually has to come back the other way equally energetically. So what are your thoughts on that?
I pulled 3 cards because I am a tarot wizard, right? It's like you're asking this question about like the fate of humanity. The fate of humanity is in these 3 cards.
Yeah, the collective.
No pressure, right? just like looking to see if there's hope, right? Is there hope for us as a species, it's like what's coming up? Oh, the 10 of Wands comes up. The Hanged Man, also known as the Great Pause, which this time has been referred to as, and the 2 of Swords. And all of these cards, they show where there's work to be done. It's like the 10 of Wands. It's like it's like the person who keeps carrying the same load, and are we looking just to keep shouldering that burden? Is that, are we ever going to change things up? Are we going to ever let things go in order to make new space for new goals? Something that is that we're not just um, carrying like again, kind of that burden around. It's about how it is that we can clear some of that energy. And I don't know if anyone during this time has done any kind of just clearing of their own either living situation, their life. Obviously, you have if you've moved a few times. You've seen. Well, I don't want to keep carrying this shit around. And you like jettison it. But where you're looking to, as a whole, it's like, can we keep doing the same things that we're doing, and just keep laying on more responsibility, more of the stuff that just feels like it's just weighing us down, and so like reimagining, a purpose, a goal for ourselves as a collective. It's like the Hanged Man is all about having a vision, right? It's like for the students of mythology, it's like Odin was the first Hanged Man, and he sacrificed himself on the world tree, was hung for 9 days, and then was gifted the runes, the written language of the Norse, for his sacrifice. And it's like the having a vision, something to work towards, and it can be something that is like a new vision. And is that something that you're a part of? Is that something that falls within your own responsibility? Apolla, I'm speaking to you specifically. I'm gonna put it all on your shoulders, as far as like, creating like a new vision for, that people can move towards.
That's so crazy you say that, because I actually have, before all this even happened in the world, I was going around giving presentations on solutions for humanity, and my whole idea of it was that I felt like as a collective, we didn't really have very good examples of what to manifest together, just because, what's always being shown to us on the media constantly is mostly negative, and it's never really talking about these options that we actually have of different ways of building communities, and like vertical gardens and circular communities, and just, there's just so many options, I feel like. And I actually made a presentation because I felt like, the only way you can really manifest something for a better future, like even just on your own through, law of attraction, is, you have to have an idea of what it is you want. You have to have that clear. And I feel like humanity, like collectively, we have no idea what it is we want in the future, what exactly it is that we could have. And I feel like, like there's like all these different great options, like, like the Venus Project, and there's several, and I mean, I don't agree with some aspects of it, but there's just so many options that like a lot of people don't even know about. And I feel like that's a great way of turning the tide with everything, is like, here, like, let's look at what we do have, like what we can do, and like at least get a visual of it, so that we can all collectively think and decide on what it is we do want. Because like, how are we ever going to get anywhere if we don't have any idea of what that is yet? So that's crazy to me you just said all that, because that's that's been my mission for a while with my presentations.
Well, that's what makes me the wizard, right?
Yeah.
It's not that crazy. But just like, like religions, right? There will be some common threads that run throughout all religions, that if you just take those common threads, you see the commonalities, right? That tie them together. And with looking at societies and what's sustainable, what is what's doable, are there common threads that one can pull from those, and to create a vision, or sometimes as the artist, right, one does their part to just create put forth a vision, right, it's not all on your shoulders to do all of the work, on it, but to clarify, what people can look for in their life, so that again, there's a lot of ingredients that will make someone fulfilled in life, and it's not just happiness. It's not just being entertained, throughout their whole life. That seems to be one of the burdens, actually, that we have in society, is that it creates like a distraction for a lot of people, and they're not able to focus on their own path. They're so like on into making sure that they're watching something else unfold, that they're not paying attention to their own being. I mean, I see that in like the Ten of Wands. I see where, if we're going to be able to make it as a society, if our humanity continues, that it is like it's work. There are sacrifices along the way, but it's imperative that there's a vision that we're moving towards, and something that is worth sacrificing for, something that is quite like Odin getting the runes. It's a way of deepening our connection with one another. And is it something that's beyond just like a written language, or is it a deeper way of understanding each other as maybe a global community? Again, looking at all those common threads that allow us to have common goals.
That's interesting because definitely within the past like 10, 20 years, with the internet and everything, we are becoming more and more connected as a global community. And these different political forces, they talk about like having one world governments and things like that, but it's like we are kind of like given this time where like during this time we're starting to look at what it would mean to be like a global community, just because now is like the first time in history. I mean, maybe there was advanced civilizations in the past, but right now especially, it's like really the first time in history where we're starting to get to know all the communities around the world, and we all kind of have at least somewhat of an understanding of who's all where and what's all going on now. And it's actually changing all the different communities and cultures around the world, because before it was like they were just so into their own communities, they didn't know what was outside them. But now we're starting to get a better understanding of what is outside of us and what the whole collective is. So it's interesting because we do it seems like we need to look at how we can be a global community at this point. And it's almost like we need to look at what way do we go about doing this, or like what kind of things can we implement to I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
Yeah, and it isn't about just everyone being the same, right? It is where we can have our points of difference, but when we recognize the things that we have in common, that those can be the things that allow for us to in the big picture scheme of things, where we're able to use the parts of our civilization, the things that just keep us sustained in it, the machine parts, where the machine isn't like chewing up the planet, where we're able to have agreement with our fuel sources and all that good stuff. I was looking here at Lucky Jackson 55, who's saying the hangman be chillin'. It's
I
like,
saw that.
do you
I
read
was
like
bust out laughing when
your
I said
comments?
that. Yeah, I almost seriously started laughing so hard when I saw that earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
You know that the hangman is kind of like misunderstood in the tarot because people see it and go, oh my god, that's horrible, you know. And again, these three cards that show up, they're ones that show that there's some work to be done. And the hanged man is usually seen as, you know, someone who's looking at something from another perspective, who's kind of, you know, maybe thrown things into a different light. And you know, where we don't just you know, just do things in the same old way. You know, you are a student of history. I know you're incredibly well read, and you know, you look at the progress, the technological progress in the last 140 years, right? Everything going from the coal and the steam engine to nuclear and just, you know, whatever fuel source, you know, they can figure out. I mean, that's like it's been exponential in just those last, you know, 100 years.
Yeah, and that's
And
actually something I've gone over in my presentations is different kinds of ways of energy that we aren't really implementing. It's like, you know, we have all these other ways of energy that we could be using that wouldn't be affecting the environment, that would be, you know, a great option, but we aren't because, you know, there's certain people wouldn't make money off them as much if we all had free energy. So, you know, that's definitely one thing that seems to be something that we are all looking at as a collective right now.
yeah, and then this last card here, although I don't look at, you know, the arrangement of the cards is like any more important or anything as like where it's the third one and so it's the most important. It's not. I don't read tarot that way. Some people will say, oh, that's like past, present, future, and it's like, no, it's like showing like the work that you know we need to do as a civilization to be able to move forward. And when this comes up, this Two of Swords, you know, it's like about having to make decisions about our way forward. It's like the swords, they represent the mind. And it's not just all mind, right? When we make choices for ourselves, it's like what's being protected there by the swords is the heart center, right? And it's like we need to be able to you know, remember this part of ourselves as we make the bigger choices, you know, because the heart center, that's an intelligence, and it's a place that it's like we you know, can do all of these things that sustain our life, that are the logical aspects, but it's like, you know, the heart is why we do this is why we want to remain alive. You know, this is you know, the areas of you know, where we want to create you know, loving relationships of family, of community, of feeling connected. The heart is where we connect with others, and that has to be a part of, you know, all of the systems in place, right? Because you know, you give the job to an engineer, they can do it, you know, they can figure it out, but is it livable, right? And you want the future to be inhabitable by a feeling intelligent human. And so remembering to you know, embrace the heart center too.
So how would you, so seems like the common consensus here is that with the collective, it seems a lot to do with connection, like how we're all interconnected and how we're all affecting each other essentially.
Yeah, and you know, it's like we're you know, continually growing too in population as far as you know, humans anyway on the planet. But I'm sure you have other ideas about, who else is here, right? To help. I mean, are we on our own?
Aliens. I always like to say that in Giorgio meme. Aliens. That's why I do this. But yeah, I was gonna actually say that earlier, but I didn't know if we should take the conversation in that direction. But
hey, it's your show.
Yeah,
Apolla, you can do anything you want.
I mean, hey, I guess it's a UFO show. Like so. I guess. Everyone's talking about this awakening period, like the Mayans, they pinpoint 2012 being the beginning of an awakening period. And we've certainly started to see this within the few years, was 7 years or so since then. Yeah. And I think, humans, I think we have all these abilities. I've talked about this a lot on the show lately. I think humans have a lot of abilities that we haven't necessarily tapped into yet. And I think that's a lot of what this awakening process is going to be about. And I think once we start, awakening to these abilities, I think that's when we're going to start having more contact with these ETs, extraterrestrials. I mean, I think they're probably around us already with just in interdimensional sort of layers. And the reason why we can't perceive them is because we just haven't awakened to that level of consciousness. So when you talk about all this, this connection, I think it really has to do with all of us, each of us doing our own part and waking up within ourselves and kind of tapping into these abilities, like, connection. That kind of makes me think of telepathy. I think there's we have these different abilities and going through this awakening process right now. And as a planet, like we were talking about what it means to understand ourselves as a global community. I think once we get to that point, that's when, like right now we're already starting to look at being a spacefaring civilization. Elon Musk is talking about going to Mars within the next, I think 4 years, I believe, or 10 years, he was saying. So, I'm sure, we're not the only ones out there, obviously. I mean, if there's billions of stars in the universe, I mean, there's got to be more life out there. So I almost, it seems to me like, ETs are probably watching us, wondering, waiting for us to get to a certain level of awakening. They probably don't want to necessarily show themselves to us until we get to a certain level as a collective. And, we don't, probably also because they don't want us to bring a warring mentality out to outer space.
It's like we're a troubling species, because it's because of how our technology has become exponentially advanced in the last 100 years. It's we're pretty dangerous with what it is that we do have, and I can see where more advanced beings are just let them figure it out a little bit longer, so that they don't blow us up. That they don't
That's definitely how I'm looking at it. And I don't know if it's, that they are physically there's, I'm sure there's different aspects of it. There's probably some ETs that are physically in the same dimensional plane as us, just on other planets. But then there's some that are, they're probably already around us at all times, and we can't perceive them because we're not on the same sort of dimensional layer as they are. So, I just think it's interesting. I think the more that we awaken, if we do have this awakening, like the Mayans predicted, I think that will have a lot to do with, just kind of feeling into these other layers of perception. It's kind of going through a paradigm, and it almost seems like we're starting to shift through it now. But, it's strange and interesting to me to try to wrap my mind around what that would be. Because, perception is just such an interesting thing to think about. My uncle, he always told me this story growing up, and he's a lot like you, Jason. He does past life regressions, and he's always been an energy worker, and he's kind of taught me a lot growing up, and he always told me as a kid that that when the Spanish conquistadors came to Mexico, the I can't remember if it was the Mayans or the Aztecs. Maybe it was the Incans, actually. One of the Mexican tribes down there at the time. When Spanish conquistadors came there, it was only the shaman from the tribe could see them arriving in the ship, and no one else, like everyone else that was looking out, they couldn't even see them or perceive them because they had never seen a big ship coming before. And I just think that was so interesting to me. And apparently, like, this is actually like something like a historical records of this, like, and then as they came closer, like, and the shaman started telling people, more people were like, oh, you know what, I do see that. You know, it's really strange. It's like, that's how perception works. It's like we can, you know, there's things that can be happening around us, but if we're not used to seeing it, or we don't know how to perceive it, then, you know, it's just, perception is a very interesting thing to think about. And I think that's going to be a lot of what has to do with this awakening process that we are going through right now.
Right. And again, you know, it's like what I look to do in the world is to, you know, work with people on either an individual basis, or if I'm working with groups, it's about where people can see their part in how to make a shift, right, in their own perception. If they're expanding into a certain new realm in their life, you know, that's when you know, the rubber hits the road, right? That's when we're activating these new levels within ourselves, when we're busting out of the chrysalis. And, you know, it's like the caterpillar, their world was something else. It's like you go into this chrysalis, you come out another being, right? And the same is true for, you know, it's like myself. I was a production artist. I was a musician. You know, that was my world. And then all of a sudden, you know, I'm thrust into this whole new way of seeing things, of being with other people, and you know, I'm the tarot wizard. And it's like, you know, there's no limit to the times that we can transform ourselves. But, you know, it's like, it's about making it count when it does happen. You know, it's not the number of times that we can go through a change. It's about you know, feeling the purpose of it, and fulfilling your life in this particular time on the planet.
I like how you worded that. It's about making the change count. That's interesting.
Yeah, and if you look at your journey, right, where you're now, you know, using the microphone to broadcast to a larger audience, it's like, you know, educating people, because again, you're a serious student of history, of you know, philosophy, a lot of things, the alien cultures. You know, it's like, I have a question about that, about the, you know, because of the plains of Nazca, right? Is that right? Where there's you know, these huge drawings in the landscape.
The Nazca lines, yeah. I'm actually going to investigate some lines similar to that are apparently here in California in a certain place pretty soon here, actually. So it's interesting you say that. But sorry, what was your question?
Well, speaking of perception, right? If you're just on the ground and you're creating this, you don't see them.
Right.
You have to be up above to be able to see them. And yet, you know, how did they get up there, you know, at that time that they were built, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like people think, you know, in our modern day, like, history that's by the books, we never had an advanced civilization before that could have, you know, been able to go up in the air. But it's like, so how did these tribes in Peru, you know, there were supposedly hunter-gatherers, create this these lines that can be seen from outer space that look like, you know, animals? It's like, these lines are like miles wide. It's like, how could you even think to like wrap your mind around how you could draw it out and what they would look like from up there without, actually going up in space to view it. I mean, I don't even understand how you could possibly think to do that from like the ground, it's just it's crazy.
You're an artist, right? It's like, would you do something, a piece of art that you could never appreciate, that you could never see in its totality?
No, I mean, I don't know. It might be an interesting concept to work with, but
But would you be like driven to really do that?
I mean, maybe if on Ancient Aliens, they say with these Nazca lines, apparently, like, maybe like these, if it was tribes that had created them, then maybe they were, like some ancient aliens had come down and they like drew it to try to make them come back. But it's, it's interesting. Yeah.
I worked with an author. His name's Brad Steiger, and he's written like a ton of books about one of his more famous books was Worlds Before Our Own, and so there he would dedicate like various chapters to things being found in coal mines and just kind of buried beneath the earth, but where they were like relics, they were like metal cups, and there are like things that couldn't have been just created like just from a primitive culture, but a more advanced, but it was like unearthed in just the middle of nowhere, and it's like it's a fascinating study, to know that it's like we think that time is linear, that it's we're the most advanced thing that has ever been on this planet, but we're I like to refer to us as spacemen, or that's like space people, right? We're because we're out in space, even Earth is just out in space, and so why not? It's a huge cosmos.
Definitely. And, I actually have this theory that I've always kind of thought that, like, there's been a lot of evidence of weird things being found in magma that come up out of magma that could actually survive through the heat of, like, the magma. And they're like, where are these coming from? Like, they're like very strange things coming out of it. And it's like, I think that, the Earth is always like throughout time, it's like, through plate tectonics, the plates are always kind of going under each other. And I feel like, I think there must have been many, many, many advanced civilizations, like even millions of years ago and more, but we don't have any evidence of it just because the Earth keeps, going inside itself like this. And then the magma comes out of the volcanoes and it's just always kind of constantly going like this. And I think that's very interesting. And I mean, there's definitely evidence on the surface of Mars and the I mean, obviously on the surface of Mars there's been a ton of evidence of what looks like pyramids and interesting structures there. So like you were saying with time not being linear, I actually was on Project Camelot recently, and we were talking about the way of time being cyclical, but Carrie Cassie was saying actually I see time as a spiral where it's like it'll come back to a certain point like it was at one time, but it's a little different. So it's like we may be back at a certain time right now that was similar to maybe the time of Atlantis, possibly, with the way we are technologically and everything, but like the technology and everything we have is a little different, so it's definitely interesting to think about. And I think, maybe we in ancient civilizations, we did have spacefaring communities and, so, and I think, during this time in Atlantis in the past, like, we were probably reaching a point like now where we were like, communicating with other races, like off planet. And we were starting to like get to a point where we were going off planet. But then we destroyed ourselves through technology. Our technology, we let it get the best of us. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lesson that we need to take, and we need to look at what we're doing right now. Like, how are we going to do things different this time around?
It's like the more things change, the more they stay the same, right? And if time is a loop, if it's like this MC Escher drawing, of where, like you see the stairs that just kind of keep ending up at the same place. If time is like that, then it's like we look at the cycles of our own life, and we have like a capability, most of us, I won't say everyone, but it doesn't mean that everyone at some point can't, recognize their own patterns, their own habits, their own ways of just staying locked into a cycle of things. If we're able to see that, and at some point say, you know what, I want to do things this way instead of doing things the same way. It's like, that can be an example for others to change things up, and again, to elevate, to elevate, the process of how it is that we can live fully, that we can move towards what can be a better way of living, because it's like, I think we see a lot of what doesn't excite us about what's in certain parts of culture, that there's just like, no, that's just, I don't care about it. That's not me. I'm going to do this, and where we have that courage, and we activate our own sense of destiny or purpose, and just move towards those places. So I mean, this is what has given me the permission to be a wizard in life, and it means that one has to be educated. One has to work hard at it. There's no easy road to it. It's sometimes a harder road than just like being more accepted by society. But it's the road that is definitely worth traveling. I know that it's like the road that you're on is definitely it's inspiring to a lot of people.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I feel the same way about you. I think maybe, we're kind of similar in that way, where we both kind of branded ourselves in a way that's a little different and unique, and, it's amazing to like do what, to be a little different, but also do what makes you happy, that you're passionate about. And this talk has really been incredible. And I really feel like we have brought it all full circle. And, I guess I'm just thinking, like, maybe do you have any final thoughts on all of this? Is there any way you would like to completely bring this back full circle? And yeah.
Well, I have hope for humankind, because of there are enough people, I think, who can see outside the lines. They can see ahead enough to where it's like either they can help kind of correct the ship, as far as if we're on this big version of Titanic, and we're headed for the iceberg. It's like I think that we can steer clear of some of the hard aspects, but it's like there's no easy route to life. It's like all the people that I confer with, who I talk with, and sometimes it's those harder times that they crack us open a little bit, where we bring open like the next part of our life, the next stage. And again, at this time, not everyone is going to crack open, right? Some people are going to crack. they're just going to like fall apart. Others will just kind of like blindly go through it. Again, they're looking to just return to something that feels normal. But the few, the courageous, the ones who are open to that calling within themselves, they hear it and they know that they have to act upon it. And it can, it doesn't have to be the full on transformation overnight. It can be where it's just like it starts the process. It's the catalyst and gets them moving forward. And that's something of value that will help for one to be in a place where their soul is aligned with kind of that eternal spark. And I think that's like what kind of saves humanity is being connected to a sense of their eternal spark, and how that just will keep unfolding.
Yes, I definitely agree. I feel like, I've been saying this a lot on my interviews lately. Evolution doesn't come without stress. And we're definitely in that period where it's kind of forcing you. And it almost seems like it's to people that really especially need it are the ones that are really getting hit the hardest by it during this period. Whereas like some of us that may have gone through many dark nights of the soul ourselves, or, at least one or two major ones, it's not really, we're almost kind of thriving in it because we've been through it before, And right. I think, like you said, it's really about making the, I get, what was it you said about it, making the change worth it, I guess. I'm not sure how you worded that before, but yeah. So,
making it count.
Yeah, making it count. So thank you so much for this incredible message. I mean, I really think this was amazing, and it was definitely a very powerful message for humanity, and it really interrelates a lot with things in my own life as well, that, you really helped me look at a lot within myself as well throughout this. So really appreciate it. Appreciate having you on here, and it's been an incredible experience. Do you have any, I know you have a lot in your shop right now, and you do readings for people virtually. Would you like to talk about that for a minute and where people can find you?
Sure. I totally appreciate you having me, on and letting me share, my message and my work. And again, you're an inspiration to many in the world, and a lot of fun. That one like kind of conehead bald cap thing that you're wearing, and we're all getting like a real kick out of that.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. By the way, if no one's seen that, did a little movie. It was a mockumentary. Some people thought it was serious. They started watching. They're like, "Wait!"
I thought it was serious.
Yeah, but it's a mockumentary, like a funny documentary of this crazy adventure I had recently, where I go to search for aliens, but I end up turning into one. So make sure you check that out. It was just posted yesterday on Apollo's Odyssey. So
I'll have to watch
Area 51 special report. Oh yeah, definitely watch it. It was hilarious.
So I have a website, Jason D McKean, just like what is spelled out here in my title there, and that's a .com. Also on Facebook, I have at Jason D McKean. On Instagram, Jason Tarot Wizard. But on Amazon, iTunes, I have meditations. I have my OM CDs. I have about 8 OM CDs, and they're all very different. I don't believe as a creative person to do the same thing over and over and over and just try to milk that. It's like the serious person will find different ways to express a meaningful like the OM, right? That's like an incredibly blessed tone, and when you use it to calm your being to center, it's like you become much more empowered in your life. And so there's lots of versions of that, and meditations, and then reading for people, and helping people open up to the next part in their life, to be a part of that transformative energy that is life. That is the essence of life. So again, thank you, Apolla. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason. It was so great having you on here. Everyone, make sure you check out his store and check out his products, and definitely get a session with him, because I recommend it. I actually had a past life regression done by him, and I explained the whole story in another episode, so it would take me like an hour to talk about the whole thing, but it blew my mind and definitely helped me realize a lot within myself. So I definitely recommend it. And so I guess I'll wrap this up here. So, I hope everyone really got the message from this. I really feel like it was a very inspiring episode, and I hope this can help you all figure out what you need to transform within yourselves during this transformational period within the collective. So thanks everyone for being here, and we'll see you next time on Apollo's Odyssey. Bye.